Well, hello. For those of you unaware, Daymond John is the founder of FUBU, though he is best known for his role on the TV show Shark Tank. I wouldn't say I'm in love with the show, though I like the premise of it. I'm not a fan of the whole reality TV thing. They always edit it to be melodramatic, and it's just annoying. It's like the most blatant attempt at emotional manipulation ever. That stuff's so annoying to me. But in concept, and the people who are actually the sharks, if you will, they're actually really cool people. And I like the idea of them giving small inventors or entrepreneurs a chance to make their business flourish. But I'm not here today to talk about the show Shark Tank. I'm here today to talk specifically about Daymond John, or more specifically, his role in the hip-hop movement and why I feel like this is significant. Daymond John describes his story as his family was quite poor and they grew up in not the greatest neighborhood, but he started working his own jobs to help support the family from a very young age. So he already had a strong work ethic as it was, and this was during the time when hip-hop was starting to blossom as a culture that he absolutely loved. Hip-hop as a culture was very underground to begin with. It has some very grassroots beginnings. It actually is quite beautiful in some way. In that same spirit, when the company Timberlands, who makes a very popular line of shoe in the hip-hop community, came out and said, "Our shoes are not for drug dealers and gangsters," the entire black community took that as a slight towards their skin color and got really pissed off. So Daymond John, being an entrepreneur in spirit already at this point in his life, decided to start BUFU. He called it BUFU before he called it FUBU, which is amazing. But it stands for For Us, By Us, and basically made a lot of this clothing out of his house with his mom by hand and went and hawked it on the street. There's a lot more to his story, and it is very significant, but the idea being he started with nothing and he hustled his ass off. He had a vision, he had a dream, and he made it happen. I mean, for one, that's quite inspiring, but for two, I thought about myself in some ways a little bit. Let's just say I have a lot of plans for the future. But point being, listening to him and thinking about how I related to him on some of these levels actually made me think, wow, the culture of hip-hop and the culture of the online metal community kind of have some similarities. Granted, metal's already been around before the internet for a long time, so it's definitely not exactly the same. Not only that, but you're not talking about the hardships and struggles of the black community in America that really birthed this movement. People telling stories about their real circumstances that couldn't be told anywhere else. So I'm definitely not equating those portions by any means. But as far as the fact that there is an establishment structure that we are undermining by using technology to our advantage, even if it's not completely legal, or even if laws need to be changed in order to support this new culture, we don't like the stiffness, the fakeness of what's being pushed down our throats and shoved in our faces every single day by the popular mass media, and we want to be able to speak up for ourselves. We know that there are better art forms out there that are being ignored. We know that we can do it ourselves. We don't need gatekeepers. Now, I imagine most of my contemporaries in the online guitar and metal community don't see this so much as a movement, so much as they do a phenomena that has happened where this culture is starting to blossom out of nothing. I definitely think there's a lot more to it than just having a good time. And even if you look at the root of hip-hop, a big part of it was just having a good time, but a really significant part of it was telling those stories that needed to be told. I think you would have a really hard time over the last couple of decades getting serious criminal justice reform in America without these stories being told through the hip-hop culture. An analog back to our online guitar community, I don't think we're gonna see the downfall of music labels unless people stand up to them. We all know these media conglomerates cause trouble. They don't give a crap about the law. They just want to make sure that they're being served, whether it's legally or otherwise. They want complete control over the information flow. They have a vested interest in propping each other up instead of truly competing with one another. And we are the online equivalent of kids gathering around on the street corner, and instead of dancing to a bunch of beats, banging heads to a couple of kids banging on trash cans and strumming electric guitars through a really crappy amplifier. It might seem really stupid and insignificant on the surface, but the actual heart of what's happening here is absolutely astounding. It is innovative, and also it will be revolutionary. I think a big difference between me and a lot of my other contemporaries too is I want to catalyze this. Not that it needs to be me that catalyzes this. It's going to take a lot of people to make this happen, but I want to push on them. The hip-hop culture was very out front, in your face. They wanted attention. They were grabbing and screaming for your attention, because honestly, the attention brings in revenue. As much as a lot of people want to look down on rap and everything, if you want to look at some of the world's greatest businessmen, look in the hip-hop community. And the beautiful thing is about the origins of the hip-hop community, they weren't born into privilege and wealth. They actually came up, hustled their asses off, and made it work. And similar things can be said about our online guitar and metal community. These guys aren't ordained, usually they're not, ordained with a music label behind them saying, oh, here's all this money and we're gonna give you publicity and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. A kid or a guy or a lady, an absolutely beautiful young lady, can sit down in front of a camera and start making videos, and people just show up and watch. And if you really want to make it successful, you gotta hustle your ass off. So Daymond John, while also being an extraordinarily successful businessman, also was part of a catalyst for an entire movement that is so profound in Western culture now that it's literally the most popular genre of music and arguably the most popular culture in the West today. I'm not a big fan of how the popular version of hip-hop is evolving and becoming into something that's basically laughing at its past. It's kind of disgusting, actually. But there's no denying the strength and impact of this movement. Whether anyone wants to say it out loud or admit it publicly just because they're trying to cover their asses, that same thing is happening in this community. This is an extraordinarily impactful community. Granted, it's not as impactful as hip-hop, specifically because being online and people being able to choose what communities they want to associate with inherently makes these communities multiplied by a million, but also a lot smaller than mass media used to be before the age of the internet. Even still, there's somewhat of a common ethos between all of these communities that all kind of has its heart in independence and being able to think for yourself and being able to make your own choices. What I perceive as this cultural movement, I seriously think it has the potential to do amazing good, and that's why I like talking about it. I like keeping people aware about it. Sometimes I feel like people are gonna think I'm absolutely nuts, but you know what? I honestly believe in it, and I honestly believe we can do it. We have all the wherewithal to do it. All we need to do is execute and stay on message. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, if you like what I do on this channel, please support me on Subscribestar. Please like this video. Please share this video. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Become the Knight. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video. Rock on!